In this video, we explore the concept of Wu-wei, which translates to non-doing or effortless action in Taoist philosophy. Through examples and insights, we delve into how practicing Wu-wei can lead to greater harmony, flow, and success in various aspects of life. If you're interested in cultivating a more peaceful and balanced approach to life, this video is for you. Once, in a vast valley, there was a young and enthusiastic farmer. He embarked on his journey with a fiery passion, inspired by the motivational videos he often watched. Familiar concepts like overcoming obstacles with effort, the spirit of hard work, and the rush to achieve success had ingrained themselves into his mind. As he stepped onto his farm, his heart beat strongly, ready to make everything flourish and prosper. He began by weeding, using this as a way to help his crops grow stronger and faster than ever before. However, all his efforts were in vain. The doubled watering and weeding not only failed to help the crops grow stronger, but also caused them to drown in water. Through these failures, the farmer came to a bitter realization. No matter how hard we try, if our actions go against nature, we will face adverse consequences. This serves as a reminder that despite technological advancements and human progress, we are still entirely dependent on the power of nature. Human efforts always have limits and depend on the connection with nature. Although we may intervene and manipulate, we cannot completely separate ourselves from natural development. Lao Tzu, a renowned author of the Tao Te Ching, strongly asserts that the world self-regulates without needing our intervention. Lao Tzu wrote, "When you attain the state of non-action, nothing will be left undone." This idea reflects the fundamental concept of the paradoxical Wu-wei. However, when we attempt to define non-action, we quickly realize that there is no fixed meaning. Some interpret non-action as doing nothing or not doing anything at all, while others argue that it is action without action and define it as effortless action. We recognize that in Taoism, there are many aspects related to the concept of non-action that can improve how we interact with the world around us. The ancient art of letting things happen doesn't make us passive and ignorant, but can actually improve how we act and bring about better results. This video is a humble effort to elucidate and practice the depth of this philosophical idea. A common explanation of Wu-wei is adjusting our actions without forcing anything, only acting when deemed appropriate. Lao Tzu believed that the use of force often leads to complex problems. By speaking about the use of force, he not only referred to its literal use, but also implied disrupting the natural flow. Nature follows its own laws, always operating at a natural pace. It is the source of our existence, creating and regenerating countless things, from what we see under the sky to what is beyond our grasp. However, in modern society, the value of human conscious effort is often prioritized, regardless of the grand natural power of the universe. We often celebrate effort, even if the results may not accurately reflect the strength we invest in it, simply because we believe that the purpose of the work is always worthwhile. Like modern-day versions of Sisyphus, we continue to push the boulder up the hill, knowing that it may roll back down from the summit. But smart, wise effort is a different story. Sometimes, diligence and action are necessary, but not always. In games, everything often relies on the pace of the game and the cards you're dealt. Taking action out of turn can disrupt the natural flow of the game. Therefore, we often find that forcing things can lead to destructive consequences, and trying to push our luck beyond natural limits often results in negative reactions. Conversely, in many cases, situations often resolve themselves when we don't intervene. When we let things unfold naturally, everything tends to go smoothly. For instance, a new farmer only needs to let the seasons pass naturally and patiently, and nature will take care of the rest. But when it comes time to harvest, the farmer must start working diligently. Lao Tzu said, "The Tao never uses force, yet nothing is impossible to achieve." When we follow nature, everything unfolds smoothly. The farmer has the task of sowing seeds, which will grow into crops, and then the farmer harvests the mature crops when they are ripe. This is the ideal functioning of nature. Lao Tzu believed that the world cannot be governed but that it manages itself best. Control lies far beyond our grasp. Trying to dominate it always leads to failure. Spending a lifetime struggling against nature is a waste, even if we are honored for our bravery. Instead of expending energy to control and alter nature, we should accept and guide it like water flowing against rocks, heading towards the ocean. There are leaders, and there are followers. There are those always tense, while others feel at ease. Some are strong and wealthy, while others remain humble. Some are protected and cared for, while others face destruction. The master accepts all as they naturally are, and with compassion, steers clear of extravagance, extremes, and excesses. When delving deeper into the meaning of Wu-wei, it becomes even more intriguing. Suppose its precise definition is natural action. Unlike common translations like non-action and doing nothing, it refers to things naturally and positively unfolding, though the general pattern remains unchanged, letting things happen. With effortless action, we might say that we don't do, but rather flow. We step into the river without much thought about the destination. We're navigating into uncharted territory, yet not letting the unknowns unsettle us. We swim with the current, not against it, moving smoothly, without turmoil and without coercion. When we try to swim against the current, it requires effort. It's like trying to hold onto a rock. When we force everything, problems arise. For example, when dating, the other person is mainly interested in who you are, the person you are in that moment. However, many people spend time meticulously preparing, analyzing, and rehearsing what they're about to say. And this is where the nerves become intricate. People twist themselves excessively, become dishonest, and are seen as inauthentic. So why does this happen? It could be because we are too focused on the outcome. Zhuangzi spoke about how different expectations can influence our actions and state of mind if we become too attached to them. In a date, most of us hope it will be successful. We wish the other person to be happy with us. Therefore, natural pressure arises. There's a kind of price to pay, and if not achieved, we may feel disappointed. So what could be a fun and natural experience turns into a tense, pressured event, with many tangled thoughts and mental preparations beforehand. We often stand on our path, trying to restrain and alter the natural flow of life, something that truly cannot be controlled, no matter how hard we try. But imagine a day when you step in without a plan, not even anticipating the event to happen. Then, you act naturally, spontaneously, and entirely instinctively, because you haven't had the chance to overthink it. In today's world, there's no time for elaborate plans, schemes, or detailed analysis. There's only the present and the integration with this moment. And most people find purity in that. When we try not to care too much about the outcome, we can act effortlessly and respond swiftly, simply because we are acting. If we go further, we'll reach the self and the state of Wu-wei. Through experiences from the past, social environments, or ideological values, we have shaped ourselves into knowledgeable individuals, fitting into the culture we live in. This may stem from a religious community, a nation, or even a professional field. Typically, we view this as positive. However, there is a negative aspect, and it relates to self-awareness. The ego often distorts how we perceive the world around us. For example, when we approach a new situation or engage in a conversation with a partner, the ego often imposes prejudices, illusions, and beliefs onto unclear moments. The dominance of the ego grows stronger, preventing us from accessing and understanding more deeply what is truly happening. Therefore, those with strong convictions often encounter difficulties when attempting to perceive the world from a new perspective, beyond the confines of their biases and beliefs. Thus, Lao Tzu advises us to return to a more uncarved block state, which he describes as a primitive block. We can understand the uncarved block as a mind unencumbered by knowledge and beliefs, thereby fostering a clearer view of the world around us. Dr. Wu-wei Chong, a philosopher and Dutch sinologist, explained her interpretation of Wu-wei in a Dutch language book on Taoist philosophy, focusing on the concept of emptiness or opening up. She describes the essence of practicing Wu-wei as follows. From the clarity of the egoless center, the practitioner can observe all relevant factors in a given situation, unaffected, and thus able to respond perfectly. So, if we look at Wu-wei in this way, it's not just about letting go and flowing with the natural course, allowing the universe to fulfill its mission. It's a much stronger step, requiring courage. We need the courage to abandon what we have learned, discard our limitations into the garbage can, and eliminate unnecessary assumptions. As Lao Tzu wrote, "Abandon knowledge and discard your troubles, and you will find clarity." Why distinguish between existence and non-existence? What is the difference between good and bad? Do you really need to fear what everyone else fears? In that sense of meaninglessness, ask yourself how much you may have missed. Zhuang Su tells us the story of the conversation between Confucius and one of his disciples, Yan Hui. Yan Hui, upon hearing about the issues and autocratic regime in the kingdom of Wei, decides to journey there himself. He plans to use his knowledge and wisdom to persuade the king of Wei and change the direction of the kingdom. However, Confucius advised Yan Hui against doing so, as he believed that his plan was too selfish and unlikely to succeed. Finally, no one expects a sage who knows everything to appear and just teach you how to manage your business, especially when it's under the rule of a tyrant who only cares about personal gain. However, Confucius proposed an alternative solution, which he called the fasting of the heart. He described tranquility of the mind as a form of meditation, helping us to relax our prejudices and open our hearts to accept new things. With an open mind and a willingness to learn, Yan Hui would explore the land of Wei and its king, as well as their culture and beliefs. He would gain insights into the current situation and may provide more helpful assistance. By adhering to the principle of Wu-wei, we can abandon our ego and act in accordance with the reality. We let things unfold and act flexibly, not constrained by our narrow ideas and beliefs. According to Lao Tzu, we return to being uncarved blocks of substantiality. Chong has said, and I quote, "Whether in politics, management, diplomacy, or any other activity, the true meaning of Wu-wei is the ability to act flexibly and respond sensitively, from the clear openness within you, harmonizing with the rhythm of the universe." Thanks for watching.